My name is Denise Baker, and I have an amazing family. I have a daughter and a son. When our son Tyler was born in 1989, our world changed forever, and that journey is one that was not anything I could have ever imagined. I first and foremost felt sad and afraid. I was grieving, going through a grieving process for what I thought he should be able to do developmentally and cognitively. He wasn't reaching those milestones. I knew this was going to be something in life this was not going to be easy, and I felt very afraid for his future. Those early days were probably the most difficult. Formal support, I really didn't know what that was, or what that meant, or what that looked like. Family support within our own family, and our informal supports, if you will, were not really accessible to us at that time. We knew that there was something wrong, but we didn't know how to ask for help, and we didn't know who to ask, and we didn't know that it was okay to reach out to informal supports. So we really kind of isolated, which is something I think a lot of families do, and just kind of kept things to ourselves. Looking back, those were incredibly difficult times, and not only were they difficult, but because I felt fearful and alone and isolated, I didn't really do the best job advocating for him and trying to get his needs met. I thought I had a relatively good amount of information and knowledge and skill. I had worked in the professional arena, and that all went out the window. I was so fearful and so sad and ashamed in some ways that I couldn't figure out how to best help our son. I really was untrusting, and not because I didn't think they were good people. I did. I thought they were great people who worked hard every day at their jobs. I just saw them as people who didn't understand and who were not taking the time to listen to me. So my interactions were more about myself. I think I was trying in all the wrong ways to be heard. I didn't partner well with the people at the table. I came in feeling defensive and eventually angry. And through that, I just couldn't express myself. I couldn't express what I knew he needed, and I knew that I knew what he needed. I just didn't have the right support with me, and I did not have the confidence in myself. I was not able to get the professionals to really hear me. The first time I realized that parents were coming together and that parents help other parents was a time I was sitting at my computer in my bedroom. I remember it well. I read a newsletter from the Arizona Department of Education, and Jane Cowell's name was in it, and she was leading groups of bringing parents and families together who had children with special needs. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, parents come together and they talk about this stuff. And I just, in that moment, for the first time, I experienced a lot of hope. It was definitely a process, and I'm still learning. But I think the big thing is that over time, I was able to just relax a little bit about my agenda and start to see all of the people that we were dealing with and working with, just to see them as people and certainly not as adversaries. And through that process, I could see that others were starting to see me differently. And ultimately, they started to see my son differently and started to see them more closely aligned to the way that I was seeing him, starting to see it themselves and understand him differently and understand him better. Because we had a different relationship. We were just more friendly and more open and more just talking as people sometimes, not just talking about Tyler and his needs or the next meeting. I would say that my confidence increased really when I look back as a result of three things. And the first and foremost was through engaging other parents at my son's school. I learned I was not alone. I was not the only parent over time going through this and having a child with struggles and knowing his life was going to be different than what we had hoped and planned for him. So that was the biggest thing for me, I think, knowing we weren't alone. Number two was finding a way to gain access to information and education that would make us more knowledgeable. I started attending classes where we would learn together with other parents, and they watched these educational videos teaching me about our son's rights in school. And then I think what really took things to the next level in terms of my skill and ability and my passion too was eventually other parents would start asking me, okay, so what do you do when you want a psychological or a psychoeducational evaluation, or you don't agree with what happened in the IEP? What do you do? And so I found myself helping others, and through that process of helping other parents, I started to realize, you know what, gosh, I've come along a ways here in this whole journey with our boy. And by third, fourth grade, I think I had something to offer other parents, and I found so much joy and richness in offering them hope. And the more I helped others, the more hopeful I became, because they inspired me. And it wasn't long thereafter I realized I needed to get into a full-time career where I could do what I really felt called to do, and that was to help other parents who had a similar journey.